Thank you.
It was Tyshawn Sorey at the piano. He'll be joining us really shortly.
Yep. Here we go. We got it. We're
There we
There you
good
go.
now.
go. Okay,
Yep.
fantastic. Yeah,
That was great.
Thank you.
yeah, really
Thanks so much.
good. Thank you so much.
Yep.
And yeah, I don't know if you can tell us a little bit about your process of creating the piece. It's absolutely stunning and just beautifully delivered. So, what window would you give us into? the creative process for you?
Well, thanks so much. And the entire process was spontaneous, as you probably gathered. But a lot of times, whenever I spontaneously compose music, it's usually based either on ordered or unordered pitch sets or whatever. Usually, anytime I begin doing some work, or it could be based on some type of harmony that I'm hearing at that moment, or whatever the case. But there's always something that, of course, sometimes when at the moment that I start the piece, I mean, I don't have any kind of preset kind of idea or whatever, but whenever that first idea comes out, it kind of determines what I'm going to do in the next idea, or the next thing that I want to do with that idea, whether or not I want to stay on that idea, or if I want to move away from it, play something that's a little bit more contrasting, or play something that's a little more similar, or transpose it, or do something rhythmically with it that, that is of a different kind of different kind of rhythmic information, or it can be something where it could be voiced as a block chord or a block harmony or something like that. So, but it's always based on whatever idea starts the spontaneous composition.
Sounds like the way you're describing it, like the principal thing going on is that you're really listening to yourself.
Exactly.
That's like
Exactly.
you're paying attention. So
Yeah.
you can hear it. You can hear it.
Thank you. Yeah.
And when you said block chord, it's interesting because I kept feeling like I was hearing a carillon. Like it really, there was this sort of bell-like quality to, especially towards the end, the kind of block type of chord. So anyway, very evocative this time period just to hear something that almost sounds like it's ringing, and yeah, very striking.
Definitely. Thanks so much. Yeah.
What has this year been for you, Tyshawn? What if you have you gotten through it?
I've stayed busy. I mean, luckily, I had a lot of work that I needed to get done, and much to my fortune, I've still been able to have several pieces performed. So that's been good. But I mean, there's also they're staying busy to kind of keep me from going insane. But also the other part of it, of course, is being at home all the time and kind of being cooped up in the house and that kind of thing. And so that's no good for anyone. But I've been able to get outside. I have a backyard here, so that's been good for me. And being able to get outside and that sort of thing. But it's this year, has been very challenging on many levels. I mean, I feel like my career has shifted in a big way. From where I was, before I was thought more of as a performer who composed music, and now I feel like I'm more of a composer who happens to play, to play other instruments. And but I don't mind that change. I mean, because it's like I said, it's been keeping me busy, and it's been keeping my mind, as open as it could be, and that kind of thing. So, and the other thing I want to say too about this year, I mean, quarantine. I mean, people talk of quarantine as if it's a bad thing. For me, it does kind of suck in a lot of ways, but at the same time, we have to also remember that what got us here as musicians is the very idea of quarantining. Even though we don't use that exact term when we're describing what it is we do outside of getting on a stage or something like that. Whenever we're in a practice room, by the very nature, if we're sitting in a practice room for hours a time a day, I mean, that's sort of an act of quarantine, if you will, even though, like I said, it's not the same term. It's not the same terminology, but it's the same. It's kind of a similar feel. You know what I mean? It forces you to stay productive when you're in a space for a given period of time, and you find yourself bored. You find something else to work on. You find something else to do, and so I've learned early on that this type of quarantine or whatever, maybe in some ways it's helpful. You know what I mean? It really tells us that we really need to sit down and reset and really think about why we're doing what we're doing and what do we want out of it, rather than looking at it as though, well, I'm bored and I have nothing to do. I mean, that's not really, I don't think that that's a very productive way to look at it. So I've been keeping very busy, and I've been writing pieces, and in fact I'm overdue on a couple of things that I'm working on at the moment. But I try to keep as busy as possible, whether it's playing my instrument or raising my family, or or writing music. So I'm busy 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, every day, and it's kept me sane so far.
I think the New York Philharmonic, I mean, the New York Times actually wrote an article that called you the busiest composer in the country right now. But in addition to this, I mean, for people in New York, you know,
Yeah.
you can go to the new museum right now. You have a beautiful piece in the exhibition, Grief and Grievance. So, which is
Right.
really, I just have to say, it's really beautiful. And it's also, it's nice on behalf of all musicians. You know, a lot of artists are working with sound right now. So it's nice
Yeah.
to walk in and go, here's a sound piece that's done by a musician. It's really
Yeah.
great. So
Thanks very much. Yeah, glad you enjoyed that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Tyshawn. It's always a pleasure to speak with you and hear you play and hear your music. So thank you so much. It's great to
Thank you again. My pleasure. Yep.
Cool.